Warning: the following video might contain moments that might be too disturbing for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. I loved the season of winter, and so did the rest of my family. And during the harsh cold was only a minor fee to pay in order to enjoy the festivities of the joyful season. Whether it's beating down the snowy hill in our backyard, ripping through Christmas presents, or even building a snowman, we always managed to have fun. I noticed a particular accented amount of attention on building a snowman for my family. All of us loved doing it, most likely due to the subconscious reward of bonding it created. I always in charge of making the first and biggest snowball for the base, while my sister made a second two. Then my parents, of course, with my newest and youngest sibling, would tack on the details such as the carrot nose, the coal eyes, the little buttons, the warming scarf, stick arms, and exclusive to my family, the hay we used for hair. My family was so into the collaborative effort of building a snowman that we had actually added our own details. I had never before heard of someone adding hair to a snowman, especially not with hay. Regardless, we all enjoyed this time of winter. Nothing was more soothing than a mug of hot chocolate at the end of a freezing day in the cold. Winter had just started, and all the hype for it had lived up to expectations. Already it was snowing at the beginning of the season, but this wasn't anything odd for Minnesota. My friends and I kick off the start of the season with a massive snowball fight. They all gathered at my house as we pelted each other with the compacts of ice. I tried to run to shelter when a ball exploded in my face. I fell down a nearby hill and almost got back up when my peripherals caught something. My heart skipped a beat as I thought I saw a man walking in the woods. However, my fear soon was proven unjustified as I peered at the figure. It was something somewhat hard to make out due to the distance, but it looked to be nothing more than a snowman. I was sure children were just excited about the winter season and couldn't wait to build one. I returned to my friend and we finished off the battle. But at the end of the day, I sipped my hot chocolate for the bottom of the mug and headed off to sleep. I rolled out of bed that morning, slightly groggy. I was tangled in my covers, almost trapped in them. As I ruffled out of my blanket, I hopped off my bed, making my way to the bathroom. Someone once again alerted my peripherals. I turned to look at the window. It's so eerie, familiar sight. It was a snowman, but it wasn't just any snowman. This snowman was similar to the one I have seen just a day earlier. However, now it stood directly in the center of my backyard. I earlier couldn't entirely make out the snowman. I was almost sure for some reason this was the exact same one. I wasn't so much saying the same people build it, or that it was similarly constructed. I legitimately believe what stood before my eyes was the exact same figure. Same snow, same nose, same buttons, same scarf, same everything. Even the hay hair looked the same. It was then I realized something. Hay hair, something that was signature to my family. It was then I realized one of us must built it. But I felt excluded in the way that they had left me out. I stumbled over to my sister's room with a little early morning coordination I had. I asked her about the snowman, and of course she said she had no idea what I was talking about. I chuckled and told her how her pranks were only getting worse and worse. She promised me she hadn't built a thing, but I continued to invest more trust in my original belief that it was a minor prank from her. Just to assure myself once making it downstairs, I questioned my parents similar to my sister. They promised they haven't built a thing. I had put the blame on my sister previously, and I felt somewhat unsure after finishing off my breakfast. I called my family to go outside and take a look at the snowman. Once only inches away from the figure, I felt discomfort to see the detail in the creation. It looked no different in any manner to the snowman my family had built in the past. Every single specificity match on this snowman. Rather than sharing my feelings of unsettledness, my mother looked to me in anger, stating that we were only to build snowmen as a family. I told her that I had no part in building it, yet she refused to believe me. I sat in my room for the next couple of hours, bound in my thought process by this odd snowman. I stared at it almost all day, noticing its unordinary size. It stood at nearly 7 feet in height, My family never even uh, flirted with that level of stature when we built them. After hours of thinking, I finally remembered an outstanding fact. When I originally saw the snowman, it was resting in what looked to be someone's yard, for the woods connecting our houses. I looked beyond the trees as well as I could from my room, and it was a familiar house. Strangely enough, the snowman that was once there no longer existed. I went out the back door of my house and trekked through the woods, trying my way up to the house. I didn't see any cars in the driveway or any lights turn on inside. It appeared that no one was home. I decided to ring the doorbell, but of course heard no one answer. My next option was to press my face up against the glass and take a look inside. When gazing into the home, I noticed an open bag of chips on a table in a pantry that looked nearly fully stocked. I would argue that someone had been living there based on the surroundings. To gain more info, I went over to the neighbor's home and decided to ask a bit about what they knew. And the old man greeted me at the door. He carried a cane with him and struggling to stand. The elderly man gave off a kind vibe and invited me in. I asked about his neighbor. He went into quite a lot of depth. The man explained that he had lived in his particular home for over 40 years and had fairly a lot of insight about the neighborhood. He said his neighbor was the closest to being an exception. He best described him as mysterious. That doesn't surprise me, I said. The man reiterated, Yeah, they were an odd bunch, son. I'll say that much. I gave him a puzzled look. Where? He replied, Well, yes, boy. They moved out a couple years back. I didn't shake my confused expression. If they move out, who lives there now? The old man looked at me as if I were ignorant and spoke. Well, no one now. Well, no one now. It is abandoned. I didn't give him much of a reply. I thanked him for his info and nearly headed out. I stopped at the door and fired away with another question. Do you know why by any chance they left? He responded. I believe it had something to do with them feeling uncomfortable. Not really too sure. I left his house and returned home. I sat up sipping on my hot chocolate. I didn't really sleep much that evening. I just thought of it more and more. I couldn't seem to shake the thought from my head. Finally, I lost my fight against sleep and passed out. Of course, when I woke up, I took a look outside the window. I gazed down at that same window, at that same snowman. I tried my best to ignore and continue on with my day. I went through my usual routines every now and then, allowing the snowman to draw attention. However, I, for the most part, drained it from my attention span. I slept fine that night after a full cup of warming hot chocolate. I deemed was well rested and had a pleasing period of slumber the previous evening. But that morning only greeted me with surprise. I instinctively scanned my backyard for the snowman, but he was nowhere to be found. I couldn't see a trace of him. No carrots, no scarf, no buttons, and no hay. I thought it was a bit peculiar, but I forced myself to ignore it. The day went on rather slow as I continuously let the snowman eat up my mind. I looked every hour at first to see if he returned, then every half hour, then every 15 minutes, and before I knew it, I checked every minute. I pretty much spent my whole day in front of this glass looking everywhere for the figure, but as much as I looked, it was nowhere to be seen. I figured out when I went to make hot chocolate, there was no mixing powder left. That couldn't be possible. There was at least 3 mugs left this morning. I was overridden with panic and couldn't seem to expel it from my emotions. Then I thought to myself that it was quite ironic. First, I didn't want the snowman here, and now I was hoping it would return. I said to myself, why are you panicking? It was just a pile of snow. Just a pile of snow. I laughed a little bit, realizing I was freaking out over nothing. I mean, my sister could easily eat up all the hot chocolate with my parents' help. I headed to my room only to have my laughter cut short. On my bed was a carrot, 2 pieces of coal, some buttons, some twigs, and of course some hay. Beside, it was a note that read, hiding in that pile of snow was too cold for me. I like the warmth of your home better. We moved out the next week. We went somewhere much warmer. It had been about a year since then. Florida doesn't have winters, but no one in my family knows who built the 7-foot sandcastle that popped up in our yard a couple days ago. So that was Unexplained Snowman, a winter themed creepypasta, and it's actually a pretty good one. You know, like the mystery behind it is actually is very intriguing, and you know the whole like you know the protagonist trying to check Snowman fans can be kind of relatable because we also have to like check if something's like not right is working all the time, and also that ending is kind of surprising. Like that Snowman pretty much wants to like stay at the protagonist's home, which is kind of odd since Snowman can't survive in like warmer places that wasn't the cold. So there's that. And lastly, the the moment with the protagonist and the neighbors kind of it's actually pretty wholesome. Besides the mystery behind the mysterious snowman that suddenly pops up. So there's that. Don't have anything else to say about this creepypasta. This is actually pretty good. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. So like and comment this video and subscribe for more content. So this is Mr. Freddy here, and I hope you have a very good day. So bye bye.